guys are outdoorsy type people? Okay, not very many. So have any of you guys heard of living off the grid and homesteading? All right, well, living off the grid is when people want to completely disconnect from the city life, meaning they want to find their own food sources, they want to make their own electricity, and they want to have their own water source. So I'm going to be discussing about the history of the Homestead Act and living off the grid, what type of people decide to go live off the grid, and what the houses actually look like in the end. So living off the grid can be super difficult, but in the end you are being rewarded. Now, according to alaskacenter.gov in 2018, it talked about how the Homestead Act began in 1862 and how Abraham Lincoln signed the law and everything. Now, originally the Homestead Act began in Alaska, but over time people moved and started doing it in Canada, Washington, Wyoming, Idaho, Montana, everywhere. So basically when you first start and have to build your home, they go out into the middle of the woods, they cut down the trees, they skin them, and then they just start building. But now in the more modernized houses, they actually will make them out of storage containers and just random stuff. So that's how the Homestead Act began and how they built them. Now I will be discussing what people decide to go live off the grid. So today it's usually newlyweds and they're like, oh, let's go try and live off the grid. So what happens is they get married, they go and they live off the grid, and they don't know what to do. They're not experienced, and they end up getting sick because you still have to have the specific vitamins and everything for your body. Now, living off the grid isn't really it's kind of hard to communicate with other people. So according to MotherNatureNews.com, they would actually form off-the-grid communities, meaning they would go and find other people in the vicinity, and they would start just making friends. So in the picture over there, I actually took that in the middle of Idaho, and you could see how it looks like there's absolutely no one surrounding this whole entire homestead, but if the picture was wider, you would actually see there's 3 other houses deep in the back mountains. So they would take their horses and just ride over and then communicate with one another. So I thought it was really cool. Now, after all the hard work being put in, the house is done. So according to primalsurvivor.net, the houses are super rustic, and each one kind of has their own personality. So you can kind of tell over there, that one is a circle shape, and this one is a normal cabin, and this one is super small. So each house literally has its own personality. There's actually this one guy, and he builds the houses an onion shaped. So, and it kind of helps heat and water to just kind of slide off. So I guess it's helpful, but they're shaped really, really weird. It's circle and then a little weird top. But the houses overall, they're super interesting looking, and they all, like I said before, have their own personality. So today I discussed about how the Homestead Act began, how they build their houses, what people decide to go live off the grid, and what the houses look like in the ending. Now, living off the grid is, like I said before, can be super challenging, but in the end, you're being rewarded. Meaning, every morning you wake up with a beautiful view, and you're always going to be constantly working, but it's going to be worth it because the outdoors is your home. So I think it's really interesting. And if you guys want to find more about the living off the grid, there's actually a whole bunch of TV shows on how certain people build their homes and how they live off the grid. Building Alaska, that is about just random newlywed couples go out and they're oh, I want to live off the grid, and it shows how they build their windmills and how they find a well and how they find water to basically help them live throughout living off the grid. And then the Last Alaskans, they're actually just a whole bunch of different families, community that live out in Alaska, and they just explain like over time what they have to do to prepare for winter and to like live in the summer out there. And yeah, thank you.